Hello there guys, Billybo10K here, bringing you another hashtag Smash BBTT Super Smash Bros. Ultimate theory discussion video, and today we're going to be taking a look at a character that I have discussed in my Rate Their Chances, but I don't think I've ever done a BBTT for, so I'm very excited to be covering this specific character, and I think a lot of you are going to be excited as well because it's a highly requested one. But before we get into today's video, I want to give a massive shout out to all of my patrons over on Patreon. You guys are honest to God, amazing human beings. I absolutely love you all. The support you guys give the channel each and every month is absolutely amazing. There's no one to shout out this time because there's no new patrons or no upgrades or whatever, so I just want to shout you guys out in a general sense. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my Discord, The Edge of Glory. I still don't know why I called it that, but we've recently added a Mario Maker section to our Discord. We have a lot of nice chats. The community is really nice there, and if you guys are interested in joining my Discord, and I talk there a lot, so you can hang out with me, link is in the description below. So anyway, today we are taking a look at Doodle Fox B's Amaterasu Google form. Now, Doodle Fox sent me a tweet, which I will link down below, that says, I made a Google Doc theory as to why Amaterasu is the most likely out of the possible Capcom reps, including a potential Resi rep and Phoenix Wright. And it would mean the world if you checked it out in a video. Thank you for your time, hashtag Billybo10K. And of course, I saw it, so I'm gonna have to check it out. Now, this isn't a very long Google Doc, so I will be reading the entirety of it, and I will be obviously talking about it as we go. So let's just get into this. Hello, I'm a long-time viewer of the channel and have watched plenty of your Smash Bros videos. I've taken quite the liking to your DLC theory videos and have taken notes on what and what not to do when crafting my own. After brainstorming, gathering evidence, I've decided to try and submit my own ideas on why a certain goddess is more likely than you might think. It's time to present my theory on why Amaterasu shines again. Now, for those of you that don't know, Amaterasu is the main protagonist of the Capcom published title Okami, released on the PlayStation 2, Wii, and PlayStation 3, while gaining an HD version for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and later down the line, Nintendo Switch. An action-adventure game, Okami's defining gameplay feature was the use of the Celestial Brush, a tool that's used in and out of combat to solve puzzles, create objects, and fight enemies, all while being set to an ink system that runs out if used too much. Okami's other defining feature is the art style, based on old Japanese ink illustrations. As such, everything in the game has bold, black outlines and pop out from each other, making Okami a masterpiece in gameplay and visuals. Brilliant summary of Okami, which is a brilliant game. For those of you that like Zelda, it is very similar in setup and style to Zelda. You go through dungeons, you fight bosses, you gain new power-ups. I really enjoy Okami. I haven't finished it yet, but I really enjoyed what I've played of it, and I really want to see Ami in Smash at some point. And this is a perfect illustration as to why I feel Ami is an interesting character on their own. But what impact has Okami made overall? While not the most popular game out there, Okami has definitely made a mark overall. Okami is often seen as one of the best action-adventure games of its time, and one of the best action-adventure games, period. In its release year, Okami was nominated for plenty of high-ranking awards from publications like IGN, Spike, Satellite, and even shows like the Game Developers' Choice Awards, winning the BAFTAs for Best Artistic Achievement and Best Original Score, the GDCA for Best Character Design, and IGN's Game of the Frickin' Year award. People love Okami. That much is clear. In terms of all sales, all versions of Okami have sold a combined total of 2.6 million copies across all consoles. Comparing that to fellow Kamiya-created character Bayonetta, she sold over 1.7 million, rough estimate with data from 2018, not the best at math admittedly, meaning that as a series, Okami has actually sold more than Bayonetta, who's already in Smash. This isn't even counting the Nintendo DS exclusive Okami Den, which shifted around 255,497 units. There we go, I know math. Being seen as a small commercial success. Speaking of Nintendo, Okami has seen plenty of its success from Nintendo consoles. Before its HD re-release, many fans saw the Wii version as the best way to play the game, similarly to Resident Evil 4, due to the use of pointer controls when using the Celestial Brush. Even with the HD re-release, the Switch version seems to be one of the best-selling versions of it despite being the latest release of the game as of 2019. And once again, Okami Den is still a Nintendo DS exclusive, meaning that Nintendo is tied with Sony as having the most Okami games on their platform, although Sony has more versions of Okami itself rather than Okami Den. In short, Okami is an iconic and legendary title, has the sales to back up a potential inclusion, and has a decent amount of significant Nintendo history, and while it hasn't sold as much as other Capcom series, we'll get to them, it's still fairly big enough for Amaterasu to get into Smash without it feeling off, and I completely agree with all of this. Of the Capcom representatives, I have mentioned many times that Amaterasu is one of the ones who I feel is up there, and not only that, but I feel like Amaterasu fits in with Smash more than most of Capcom's other characters, simply because, Nintendo and Smash, there are a lot of humanoid characters, but a lot of the roster is definitely based on more fantastical beasts and creatures, and I don't think we have many four-legged characters who are quadrupeds. I think we have the Duck Hunt dog, and I would like to see Amaterasu rep that side of Smash, because we don't have a lot of those. What about other Capcom reps, though? Amaterasu has plenty of competition, but before we get to them, let's talk about what would make Ami unique. Amaterasu is a quadruped and would be one of the few characters in Ultimate to be that. I just said this. Wow, I'm amazing. Standing alongside Ivysaur and technically Duck Hunt. As such, Ami's speed, hitbox, and overall playstyle will be different from any other fighter, and we all know that Sakurai strives for uniqueness, especially in something like the Fighter's Pass, Joker's Rebellion Gauge, Hero's multiple special attacks and command prompt, whatever Banjo and Kazooie have in store, and on top of this, to add to the quadruped argument, none of the DLC characters we've seen so far are quadrupeds, so this could also be a bit of a help for Amaterasu if she is, say, the only quadruped character to be added in via DLC. Being an action-adventure game, Amaterasu has tons of moves to pull from. When out of ink, Ami resorts to standard wolf attacks, bites, scratches, the works. Ami also has access to plenty of weapons outside of the Celestial Brush, such as multiple glaives, reflectors, rosaries, and more. The real star of the show is the Celestial Brush, however, allowing Amaterasu to attack foes by quickly slashing across a foe, use Inferno, or its upgraded Fireburst form, and much more. The ink Ami relies on is finite, however, making her strongest moves ones that can't be spammed. Maybe ink pots can act like however Banjo and Kazooie's Golden Feathers would, or for a better example, Cloud's Limit Break on a unique timer. Amaterasu's visual design would be drastically different from every other fighter as well on the roster, especially if she's accompanied by her game's bold outlines. She'd easily stand out not just amongst a roster of tall bipedal creatures, but on the battlefield as well. Her fur and outlines would also be easy for alternate costumes and would be useful in handheld mode or TV mode. There's plenty of other potential Capcom reps that could take Ami's place in the roster, but I feel like there's enough going against them that they could either be disqualified or placed lower than others may think. Let's start with Dante from Devil May Cry. While Dante is cool and would fit very well in Smash, Capcom deconfirmed him back in February before they announced the first Devil May Cry for the Switch. So let's take a look. There is a link actually here, so I'm going to quickly check that link myself just to see what it's on about. Capcom, if fans want Dante in Smash, they should campaign for Devil May Cry on the Switch. Oh, right, I remember that, yep. Okay, fair dues. Even if Dante was the last DLC fighter, Capcom and company would still be under an NDA and wouldn't be able to talk about Smash. I'm aware Kamiya talked about Bayonetta in Smash before she was revealed, which is admittedly an oddity, but Capcom as a corporate entity would have known to not mention Smash even outside of Devil May Cry if their rep was still being considered or anything similar. To further add to this, the Devil May Cry is coming to the Switch. I believe it was actually recently re-released on the Switch, the first game, but the negotiations for all of these DLC characters ended last November, and we have no idea whether the Devil May Cry port was planned to come to the Switch at that point or not, so I think this definitely leaves Dante in a very off place. Beautiful Joe from Beautiful Joe. Wait, do people actually think he's getting in? Like, I'm sorry, Beautiful Joe isn't getting in, guys, come on. A cool choice, but deconfirmed by a tweet made by Kamiya that Sakurai replied to. I know what that one's all about. Again, this would likely break an NDA, plus not every character Sakurai mentions is automatically in the game. Monster Hunter from Monster Hunter. This one doesn't have a lot going against them, but the fact that the Monster Hunter music and the Rathalos are about the hunter themselves is really odd. Also, the Mii costume is missing, so this could either point to them coming back or the costume returning alongside Ami. I think the costume will return, but I don't think it's odd that the Monster Hunter is missing, simply because Monster Hunter is about the monsters, and I think that the Rathalos is the best way to represent that series in Smash Brothers, compared to the Hunter, who is fairly generic in terms of their moveset, and I don't think they would bring anything necessarily unique to the game. They're also very slow as well, which I know Sakurai has a few issues with slow characters as well. A new Resident Evil rep. Most people seem to agree would be getting Leon or Jill as this character, and it makes sense to include one. The problem comes in that while they carry plenty of weapons with them, Snake, and to a much lesser extent Joker, use a good chunk of what they could possibly use. As such, they'd feel disappointing from a gameplay standpoint. They probably would have some unique gimmick, but as a non-Resident Evil fan, everything I see in moveset brainstorms are a whole lot of guns, explosives, and other offensive stage control weapons. It'd be neat to have another stage control character like Duck Hunt or Snake, but I feel like Ultimate isn't Resident Evil rep's time. See, but that's the thing, you're coming at this from the point of view of a non-Resident Evil fan, and the thing with Resident Evil is that yes, a lot of the things that they use are guns, firearms, grenades, especially in Resident Evil 4, but at the same time, I would personally be interested in a moveset that somehow incorporated the zombies from Resident Evil into the game. And I do agree that I feel like they would be very similar to Joker. I don't think they would be similar to Snake, though, because I feel like Snake's arsenal is very different to the sort of guns and explosives that you would get from a Resident Evil character. Like, there are differences in how explosives and guns are. That being said, I completely understand the trepidation behind a Resident Evil rep. That being said, I do feel it's quite likely, and I do feel Ultimate is Resident Evil's time. I feel like Resident Evil deserves to be in Smash. Obviously, if you're not a fan of the series, you probably wouldn't agree, but as a fan of the series, I feel like it's been so long, we need a horror representative in Smash Brothers, because this is the biggest gaming crossover of all time, and Resident Evil is the obvious choice. That being said, I'd probably prefer Ami. Unless it's Leon. I really like Leon, so who knows. And then Phoenix Wright from Ace Attorney. On the surface, Wright and Ami share a few things in common. Most notably, they appeared in the same game, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds, and stood out amongst the roster with unique movesets. In addition, both Phoenix and Ami have major series booms going on right around now, with more people joining their respective fandoms each day. Finally, both have great support and history with Nintendo. The difference between them, besides everything about their games, is that while Okami has made less and is less well known than Ace Attorney, Okami has a lot of Ami's moveset built in and is built around combat. As shown by Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds, Phoenix also has moveset potential, but everything I see of Phoenix in that game has him placed as a low-tier character that doesn't have a lot of useful options. While not fighting before doesn't mean jack diddly shit for other reps, Rob, Isabelle, and Duck Hunt, Phoenix is a special case as he already had a chance to fight and didn't do the best from everything I've noticed. Phoenix or the Resident Evil rep are the most likely at this rate, but I still wouldn't hold my breath for either. See, I disagree with this though, because Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a very different game to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a very traditional fighter. Smash is not a traditional fighter. You cannot compare movesets from that game with movesets from Smash, because they were very different games, they have very different goals. I feel like Phoenix Wright could probably have a really effective moveset brought into him in Super Smash Bros. Because I think Smash is a better fit for him and his style of moveset, because from what we know, Smash is brilliant at making pacifist characters really goddamn good. Rob, Isabelle, and Duck Hunt, all brilliant characters who are pacifists. The Villager, for example. Whereas with Marvel vs. Capcom, you're basically in a fighting game. And I felt more so that Phoenix was out of place there. And I feel like that wouldn't... I don't agree with the whole saying that his moveset is bad in that game, so it's going to be bad in Smash as well. That just doesn't make sense to me. That's a bit of a stretch of an argument. That being said, I do agree that I would rather see Ami, but I do feel like Resident Evil and Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney are like the two franchises that are kind of battling for dominance. I do admit the Resident Evil rep in Phoenix are stretches without how I debunked them. There is admittedly a bit of personal bias, and I'm also not the best at portraying my points, but I hope I made it clear why Ami shines on among the rest of Capcom's potential fighters. I do want to say thank you for actually, like, mentioning that, yeah, there is a bit of personal bias here, and, like, I understand they're a bit of stretch, they're like a little bit of a stretch, because I know a lot of people who would never admit that, and I think that is a big part of debate, is when you could admit, hey, if someone can maybe explain this a bit more to me so that I can get more of an idea on these characters, that would be great. That being said, I do actually obviously agree somewhat with your Resident Evil thing. I do think their gameplay would be very similar to Joker and Snake, and I am a little bit concerned about that if they are the next character to come on in, but at the same time, I feel like I trust Sakurai enough to make all these characters unique. And some extra tidbits, yay. Amaterasu isn't done just yet. I have some extra juicy bits that aren't viable enough to be real points, but should still be noted nonetheless. Some of these are stretches in one way or another, but hopefully I can convince either of you here. Hopefully I can convince... English, Billy. Hopefully I can either convince you here or keep convincing you depending on what you think so far. Okay, English. Color theory. While I don't fully believe this theory, Amaterasu would fit in well with this theory. Specifically, Okami is often associated with bright orange-reddish color. The color even prominent on Ami herself. And I also brought up in my video on color theory that white would also be a potential color that Okami could also be referenced with. Companion theory. Again, I don't believe this theory, but Isun would fit really well on the mural, standing out against Ami's white and orange color scheme with his distinctive green glow. He could even fit well with Morgana and Slime and how they're portrayed on the banner. Costume theory. Okami, while not having many notable characters besides the obvious few, Ami, Isun, Yami, Chibiterasu, could easily have one or two Mii costumes. Nagi, the warrior who worked alongside Ami's previous incarnation 100 years ago, could easily be a sword fighter costume along with his own descendant Susanoo. Heck, why not one of the partners from Okami then? More importantly, Amaterasu has the chance to bring back the missing Mega Man and Monster Hunter costumes not present in Ultimate, still keeping in check with the costume theory, aka the one theory I have any sort of stock in it. The problem with that, though, is obviously that costume theory works with any Capcom rep, so while it is also a point for Ami, it is a point for any other Capcom rep as well. 4. If Sakurai wanted to reference Okami before, he had a pretty decent chance in Bayonetta. In Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta has an ability known as Panther Within, in which she turns into a, well, panther. Notably, the connection between this and Okami goes two ways. 1. Amaterasu and Bayonetta were helmed by the same dude, Hideki Kamiya. 2. When in this form, Bayonetta moves like Ami does, right down to a trail of flowers following her. If Sakurai wanted to throw Okami fans a bone, he could've, but specifically chose not to back in the 3DS Wii U era. And 5, oh, there's a 6th as well, I just scrolled down. 5, Amaterasu is tied to franchises already in Smash. We already discussed the Panther Within in Bayonetta, but she's also been mentioned by name by Luca as a small joke. In fact, out of all games referenced in Bayonetta, Okami is tied with only Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for the most. Ami also has Palico armor in Monster Hunter Generations, and has fought alongside Ryu in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds. She's even been present in an Archie crossover between not just Sonic and Mega Man, but a whole collection of their company's various IPs. She's no stranger to getting around in some way or another. And 6, every other Kamiya character has either been debunked, Dante Beautiful Joe is in Smash already, Bayonetta, or hasn't been added yet, Amaterasu. Ami would be an easy addition, seeing as how Sakurai and the development team aren't just close with Kamiya, but are also close with Capcom, the company that holds all these characters, minus Bayonetta that is. So in conclusion, when looking at potential Capcom reps, Amaterasu just makes sense. Ami has a legacy not many characters hold, has minimal yet significant history of Nintendo, fits the idea of unique, the fighter's past seems to be aiming for with her various attributes, and stands out among other Capcom reps as one of, if not the most likely of the bunch. Is she a lock? Far from it. Is she possible? Absolutely. The next time you see those two white lines in a Nintendo Direct, send your thoughts to Nippon's sun goddess Amaterasu. I completely agree with a lot of this Google form, and I want to just say this is a very well formatted Google form. It's quick, it's to the point, it's not bloated, it has sources, the arguments make sense. I just want to say well done on creating this. This is so well produced. And I do agree. I personally, of all the Capcom reps, would love to see Amaterasu and Okami. I think they are a natural fit for Smash Brothers. Either in this DLC, or another DLC, or even Smash 6 if we really want to stretch it. I do think Okami and Amaterasu need to be represented in this game one day. I don't know if it's going to be happening this time around. I would like it to, but I still personally have a bit more faith, and my doggos also have a bit more faith in Resident Evil, but who knows? This certainly has given me a lot more hope for Amaterasu, and I think that is important. So if you guys enjoy Amaterasu, make sure to support the character, because even if Amaterasu doesn't get into this DLC fighter pack, the support for the character needs to continue on further. You need to keep your character's support going until the end, until Smash 6, until Smash is never made another game. Because if you don't stop supporting your character, eventually they might just get in. Look at Banjo, look at King K. Rool, look at Ridley. These characters were supported for 2 decades, and they got in. So don't stop supporting your character, and fingers crossed for Amaterasu. So thank you for watching this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to send your own Super Smash Bros. Billy Twitter theories my way, please use the hashtag SmashBBTT. SmashBBTT. And I will talk to you guys next time. Now, I need to end this recording session because I am in a room where my windows are shut, my fan is off, and I am starting to die from the heat wave. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.